Hey folks, it's Rob, and this is Prison Architect, and this is the first part of my How to Prison Architect series. This episode is going to be a bit basic, so those of you who are looking for more in-depth how-to stuff, you may want to check out some of the later episodes instead. This one I'm going to cover essential raw basics, okay? So it might be too simple for you, but hey, I never know. Maybe there's something I'm going to cover that you're not going to know, okay? So, let's look at the interface. Here we have a basic map. It always starts with a basic one. You got the road here, where supplies and material, etc. come in this from here, and they exit from here, okay, this lower end of the road. The map contains trees and terrain, and the road, and zones. And that's all it has. There's edges, of course, and if prisoners get through over the edge, they escape. Now, over here at the top, we have day 1, your bank balance. It currently shows that we have $30,035. That includes the $30,000 startup loan. And here's our daily cash flow, which is money in versus money out. Okay, right now we have $840 a day coming in, more than we have going out. So that's if we pay the staff wages, because currently there's nothing else to pay for. Our grant of $2,000 still leaves us with $840, because you do get a daily grant for operating the prison. Now, over here on our to-do list, first off is the CEO's letter. Now this basically gives you some guidance as to what you're supposed to be doing to get started. Every prison needs a warden. Individual jail cells are expensive, so start with a holding cell. Get your kitchen and canteen up and running. Many items require water, utilities, etc., and good luck. Feel free to delete this at any time. Prisoner intake. This tells you that you're going to have prisoners coming in tomorrow at what time. Prisoners always come in at 8 a.m., so they're coming in 23 hours and 55 minutes at the moment, because as you can see on the clock over on the opposite side, that it is just after 8 in the morning. That's because it didn't stop the clock immediately when I loaded, but slightly after. Now, if you want to turn off the prisoner intake, go to Reports, which is in the lower right-hand corner here. Click the Prisoners tab. See how the normal risk is on Open? Click that, it'll now say closed. The prison is now closed to new inmates. You can see in the upper left-hand corner here. Now, when you want to reopen the prison to prisoners, all you need to do is click in the closed box, and voila, your prison's open to that type of prisoners. Now, you can open up all 3 types if you want a mixed bag. You won't get any more prisoners. You'll just get prisoners from that selection. So let's say I wanted no normal risk ones, but I want high risk and low risk ones just to be amusing. I could have 8 prisoners from high risk and low risk, and the game will automatically assign those for me. That's probably something even I didn't know for a fair while, how to turn prisoners on and off, to be fair. So here's my staff overview, and if you want to select any given staff member, fire them for example, just click on there, they're fired. Okay? Jobs, currently there's nothing on the jobs list because you haven't assigned anything to do. This is the grants list, and basically this gives you some direction and helps you achieve your goals. Okay? Your goal is basically to operate a profitable prison. Okay? If you want to have bad, wrong, fun, that's perfectly fine, but this will help you build the prison to have bad, wrong, fun in. Right, so here we have initially just these 5 grants available to you. Okay, Basic Detention Center, Administration Center, Health and Well-Being, Education Reform Program, and Staff Well-Being Initiative. And we will come back to these in the next bit, but essentially these give you some directions to go into. As you can see, they give you money up front and a completion bonus. Okay? Like the Basic Detention Center is 20 grand up front and 10 grand once you meet these objectives that are on here. As you can see here, build a holding cell, build a shower, build a yard, build a kitchen, build a canteen, have at least 2 guards, and have at least 2 chefs. Right? So they gave you 20 grand up front, and they'll give you 10 grand once you finish the job. Administration center. Again, $5,000 up front, $5,000 once you finish. Build 2 offices, hire a warden, unlock finance through bureaucracy, and hire an accountant. And you can't hire the accountant until you unlock finance, and you can't unlock finance until you've hired a warden. So it kind of leads you through the steps, as it were. Health and well-being. Build a medical ward. Hire at least 2 doctors. Hire a psychologist. Requires an office. Education reform program. We'll come back to that in a much later chapter. It's a much more involved thing. I would recommend you don't take it, because as you can see here, you can accept no more than 2 grants at a time. Use your accountant to raise the limit. You can move it up to 3, okay? But that's as far as it goes. So, if you take education reform, and I gotta say, it takes a long time to finish this, you get $15,000 up front, which could be nice, but you won't see that $40,000 for a very long time, okay? And you're going to spend a lot of money educating prisoners before you get that $40,000. Staff Well-Being Initiative. Build a staff room, have at least 5 guards without assigned duties, and ensure none of your staff are exhausted. This is one you actually want to do early, because it's easier to have your staff not exhausted when you have very few staff and very little for them to do. You only get $10,000 once this completes. It doesn't give you any money up front. Admittedly, the staff room's not very expensive, and having 5 guards isn't too onerous. You can definitely do that in part of having your basic detention center. Okay? So that takes us through the grants. So here's my menu screen, and if you want to change the language, just click on this flag here. Currently, it's on a Union Jack for English, which is the default English flag. You can see various translations are available. You can also open the mods folder if you think there's one that's out that hasn't been brought in yet. The introduction is kind of a tutorial chapter. You're happy to go into that if you want to. Let's go over creating a new prison for a moment. So, fog of war, that means your visibility is reliant upon where your guards are and where your cameras are covering. Okay? You can't see everything that's going on if fog of war is on. Turn that off if you want to see everything at all times. This here is for the new map size, small, medium, and large. Basically just you get a bigger map with more on it, potentially, if you take a bigger one. Continuous intake. Now, remember how I showed you can turn off prisoner intake? You can't do that if you tick this box as part of your prison creation options. Generate forests. Now, if we detick this, you saw how we had all those trees on here? You won't have any trees if you detick that box. I would recommend keeping the trees, as it essentially trees equal money for you. Okay? Generating lakes. Now, lakes are experimental. If you tick the box, lakes will be generated. As it was explained to me in the alpha tutorial video, the lakes, if they generate in weird, obscure, unusable places, just generate a new map, really, because there's nothing to stop it from, like, for example, dropping a lake on top of the road in certain awkward places. Generate buildings. I like this option. It allows you to have derelict buildings on the property, potentially, which you can use to do things. Might save you a bit of construction. And I think it adds a bit of character to the property, and it makes it more interesting to work with. In fact, we're going to show you what we generate here. And failure conditions. Now, you don't have to have these on if you just want to sandbox your way along. Turn off failure conditions, but failure conditions are essentially, you can have riots, or bankruptcy, or too many prisoners die, or too many prisoners escape. Bad things happen, basically. And you can fail if bad things happen too much or for too long. Okay? So, let's generate a map. You can see what this looks like. So, here we go. Here's an example. Actually, a pretty darn good example. Nice and attractive, actually. I got some abandoned buildings here. Right? Now, they have no roofs, but they do have walls. Okay? And we have a lake. In fact, we have two bits of water, really. We have this bit down here, and we have this large bit up here. Prisoners cannot traverse through lakes. You can't route utilities through lakes. So, lakes are kind of a dead zone on the map, but I like to use them. Well, first off, it adds more interest. It makes for more variety in the terrain, and I like to have this kind of dead area. I don't have to worry about prisoners escaping through. I can just fence off from there, and they can't get through the lake. Now, that showed you, essentially, a lot of the basic parts of the map design options. Now let's show you what these buttons do down here. Okay, so I'm going to load up a functioning prison that I've already built previously. Okay, here's the prison I built for Alpha 21. And as you can see, lots of flashing lights and water distribution. That happens when you load up the prison. The utilities need to circulate, apparently. So that's normal, and they'll flicker out as the utilities distribute themselves. So don't freak out about that. That's a normal thing in the game. Now, as you can see, I have prisoners moving around, and there's guards, and everybody's doing things normally. And right, here's a flag indicating that they've stolen a drill from my workshop, but he's been caught because he went through a metal detector. So, because of that, let's do a shakedown. Okay? Now, the shakedown means we search everyone and everything. Basically, all the prisoner cells, and all the prisoners, and all the prisoner toilets and beds get searched. And if we find anything, we find things. Like we just found some narcotics. Needle. Now, this basically takes my guards and makes them start searching everything. Okay, and this takes time. And in the meantime, prisoners are still going around doing things that they would normally do. And they will still walk through metal detectors, and they will still, get involved in fights and do what things that prisoners do. Here we can see they're in the cafeteria. Some of them are like, hungry! I'm hungry! See, I say food. But the search will continue until it either finishes or until I cancel it. Okay? And we've just found a cell phone, and we found some drugs, and depriving the prisoners of things will also generate, usually, punishments. It depends on how your policies are set up, and that's something we'll cover later. Okay? This will automatically finish at some point in the future once everything has been searched. As you can see, it progresses 73 out of 338 spaces. I could bring in more guards if I want. I have 14 guards. Certainly, more guards can be brought in. And if I bring them in, they'll automatically start working on what needs done. Some will take up the position duties, like, opening doors and things like that. Some will go into the searching. I currently have one guard available for any other tasks, so it's like I've hit saturation on the searching. Nope, we're back to 20 guards occupied now. Maybe someone's taking a break. They do that. They're like other human beings. They need time off occasionally. Since we're here, and this is the basics video, if you want time to go faster, here's pause, here's slow, medium, and fast. Okay? Simple enough. I imagine you worked that out for yourself, but hey, I'm covering everything. You can also move your view around with WASD. You can move it around with the mouse by scrolling to the edge of the screen. You can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel. You can zoom in and out with Q and E. And R is object rotate. Okay? So when you're placing things and you want to rotate them, hit R. More drugs, more poison. Such naughty people. As you can see, this takes a while. I'll speed up time. More drugs. More narcotics. Such naughty people. Yeah, stealing medicine. Stealing spoons and forks. Usually when they're stealing spoons, it's because they want to escape. They're going to dig escape methods from tunnels from their prison. Usually they originate in the toilet. Screwdrivers are considered weapons. Drills are weapons. Booze is a luxury. Prisoners might be addicted to booze or to drugs. Forks are weapons. Cell phones are luxuries. Lighters are luxuries. I've seen some rather unusual things like pistols, piano wire. Yeah, there's definitely more objects than what you see here. The poison probably is coming from like the cleaning room, but like bleach. It could be anything like that. It doesn't have to be like the poison of a tsetse fly. There we are. We're progressing. 288 to 388. Now, as your prison gets bigger, of course, there's going to be more and more spaces and more prisons to search. So prisoners to search. So it's going to take longer and longer for your shakedown to happen. But we get through it, And I would highly advise you do occasional shakedowns, because that's the best way you're going to find tunnels. Look at all this stuff I found. I found hammers and drills and drugs and screwdriver and lighter and cell phone and poisons and booze and medicines and needles and spoons and forks. These people have been stealing anything not nailed down. You think they were a bunch of thieves. Wonder what they're doing in prison. So, as the shakedown is nearly done, few prisoners left to search, few spots left to check. And the guards are going around, going through the work list and covering it, basically. As you can see here, jobs. A lot of jobs going on here. Escort prisoners, open locked doors, move things. Trust me, this is so much in here, you're not going to be able to really get much out of that. Just about done. Just a few more spaces here. Less than 10 to go. Look at all this contraband. People are very naughty. And they make me unhappy. And because they make me unhappy, I think it's time for bang up. Now, it is sleep time, so they're not going to notice much difference in that. There's the whistle, and it indicates that it's finished. So, okay, let's do bang up. Bang up basically means everybody goes to their cells and stays there, regardless of what the regime normally would say. Okay? So, if it would be time to eat, time to go to the yard, time to go to the shower, nope, you stay in your cells locked up. Okay? The jail doors are locked. Nobody can move or get around. Except for staff. Staff, of course, can move and get around because they have keys. They can get through doors. They can do the things that they need to do. Right now, it doesn't make much of a difference because it's 5 a.m. So I'll release the lockdown. As you can see, everyone's still in their cells. Everything's still locked up because they're in sleep. You're supposed to be in your cells. You're supposed to be sleeping. You're supposed to be locked away. But what we will do is, in a moment, they're going to be getting up. And once they get up and start moving around, I'll show you what bang up does once they're actually moving about. Here's what I mean about the fog of war. See how I can see around the guard, but I can't see this area he never went to? Right? So I don't know what's happened over here, or what's going on currently. Right, so free time. Or normally it would be free time, but I'm said bang up, so everyone has to go back to their jail cells. Now, warden's displeased. Everyone back. That guy's finished serving his time in solitary, so he's being transported back to his cell. This other guy's being transported to solitary because he's to be punished. Right, so I'm done being displeased. Everyone has their free time again. On you go. So what's this other button I got here, Rob? Well, that's the lockdown button. Right, see how we have like jail doors that are locked open here? And jail doors that operate normally? Oh, there's a shipment of prisoners coming in. Looks like we got a special prisoner, actually. Whittle. Simon Whittle. Yep, he's a special prisoner. Okay. I got Mr. Delay in here somewhere. He's the main producer of this game. He's around in here somewhere. I just find that awesome. But okay. So let's show you lockdown. Right? Lockdown, you hear a siren, all the doors shut. All of them. Even the ones I had in locked open mode. And the doors can't be opened by anybody, okay? Guards can't open them. Prisoners can't open them. They'd have to break them down. Now, I can open them myself. I can right-click on the door and open it. And I can right-click on the door and shut it. Lockdown lasts until I tell it to shut off. Now, if you leave these things too long, prisoners get upset. Right? They start getting more and more upset, and eventually they will riot and start breaking down doors, escaping, destroying things. Oh, we found a tunnel. Here's a tunnel right here. Naughty, naughty prisoner tried to dig his way out. The thing to do about that is you go over here to materials, remove tunnels, and you click on that, and you just like go, and the workman will take care of it. Right, so that takes you through those tabs there. We have left is grading, planning, clone, emergencies, contraband, deployment, bureaucracy, utilities, staff, objectives, objects, rooms, materials, and foundations. Most of these are used in construction, but grading, this is based on the prisoners that you've released. I only have had 6 prisoners released so far, so we don't have enough to be graded on. Planning is kind of like chalk outlines. So you get walls, objects, and pathways, right? Oh, someone found a hacksaw, found our tunnel. Yeah, they because I had them locked in, they're like, I'm gonna dig tunnels. So these make like chalk outlines, okay? And the objects, this is basically used so you can plan, okay? And pathways, so you know which way, how to get through places, that kind of thing, right? All of that can be easily wiped away by a right click. Emergencies. Let's say you had a riot going on. You can call in the riot police, the fire engine, or the paramedics. If I call the fire engine, it's $100, and they show up. And they showed up pretty quick, didn't they? And they deploy out with fire hoses. Ain't it neat? And if I don't want them here anymore, we just send them on their way. And they'll leave. We'll cover that. I think we should cover that more later on once we're covering security, really. And I'll cover the construction options later. But here's the bureaucracy screen. As you can see, the warden's here. There's finance, maintenance, education, health, mental health, prison policy, and security. And each one, there tends to be subheadings as well, like maintenance has these below it, finance has this below it, security has these below it, and these here. And this prison policy is off the warden as well. Okay. And let's see here. Deployment. Right. Here's where you're looking at the prison as a way of zones of control, So, like, I wanted to, say, make an area for maximum security prisoners only. Let's say I want this cell to be only maximum security prisoners. Bam. That's a maximum security only location now, and only maximum security prisoners can be in there. If I want to clear that, I just make make it back to shared. Let's say I have a staff only area. I already have staff only areas. I have like this office block down here. That's just staff only. Or like here, the foreman's office off the workshop. Or this storage area here, which is also my utilities area. Guard patrols, right? We'll cover this more later, but this is what guard patrols look like and can be assigned. Dog patrols and armed patrols. And then there's jobs where I assign people to work in locations. And as you can see, the lake has no access. Okay? So, that was bureaucracy. Here's the utilities screen. As you can see, this shows the distribution of power and water throughout the site. Okay? And allows for the construction of more utilities items. Staff button allows for the hiring of staff, like accountants and psychologists and dog handlers and janitors. Don't right click when you got somebody here. You'll end up hiring somebody extra if you can. Like I once hired, I think, 10 psychologists once by accident. That was expensive, yes. Objects is for the placing of objects. Rooms is for the designation of rooms. So you can, assign rooms to functions. Like, for example, the workshop is a workshop, the office is an office, the cell is a cell. So it's pretty straightforward. Materials are things like floors and walls and, fences, that kind of thing. But also dirt. Like, let's say I wanted just some basic dirt, right? Just assign that to be dirt, and the workmen will come in and make that dirt. Here they come. There we go, it's a strip of dirt. Foundations are necessary for the construction of proper indoor sites, like buildings, like this classroom here, right? If you want, you can have brick or concrete. I've used a lot of brick construction here. Concrete is gray. Alright, like this one here. This here is the feed all prisoners. This shows how many prisoners have yet to eat, how many have eaten, and how many meals are available. As you can see, we're not quite keeping up with that here. The rest of this has to do with things that are going to be covered in later episodes, really. So that's been our basic tour of the game. Thank you for watching part 1 of How to Prison Architect. Hopefully the next one will be more like what you're looking for, I guess. We're going to actually start building some things and talking about getting started. Okay? So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.